6 years together. I thought I was happy. Then Mia locked her phone, sneaked calls. Money vanished. Almost done, she whispered. Who's pulling her strings? How'd I strike back? The end'll shock you. I'm Nick, just your average dude pushing 35, slogging through IT project management by day and crashing on the couch with a beer and my dog Buster by night. Life was pretty sweet, or at least I thought it was. I'd been with Mia for 6 years, married for 4, and we had this little rhythm going in our suburban slice of heaven. Think cul-de-sacs, HOA newsletters, and the occasional rogue raccoon knocking over our trash cans. Our house wasn't fancy, just a 2-bedroom deal with a leaky faucet I kept swearing I'd fix, but it was ours. Buster, this scruffy mutt we rescued from a shelter 3 years back, pretty much ran the place, shedding on every damn surface, while Mia and I played backup dancers in his chaos. Back in the day, we were solid. I mean, not to get all mushy, but we had it, you know? Friday nights were sacred. Pizza nights, where Mia would inevitably burn the crust because she'd get distracted scrolling Pinterest for some recipe she'd never try. I'd come home from work, kick off my sneakers, and find her in the kitchen, flour dusted on her nose like she was auditioning for a baking show. You're a menace, I'd laugh, snagging a slice anyway, and she'd swat my arm with this goofy grin. You love it. You're stuck with me, she'd say, and I'd nod because, yeah, I was. We'd end up sprawled on the couch arguing over whether pineapple belongs on pizza. She was pro, I was firmly anti, and it'd turn into this whole mock debate with Buster whining for scraps between us. Those nights felt easy, like we'd cracked the code to this whole marriage thing. Sundays were my favorite though, lazy mornings where we'd sleep in till noon, then binge The Office until one of us had to pee or Buster started pawing at the door. Mia had this knack for impressions. Her Dwight Schrute was so spot on I'd lose it every time she'd squint and deadpan, Bears beats Battlestar Galactica. I'd lean over, tugging the blanket she always hogged and say, Babe, you're my Pam, all cheesy like. She'd roll her eyes, yanking the blanket back. Only if you stop stealing it, Jim. It was our thing. Dumb, sure, but it worked. We'd laugh until our sides hurt, and I'd catch myself thinking, this is it, man. This is the good stuff. Even the little fights, like when I forgot to take out the trash or she left her coffee mugs everywhere, never felt like a big deal. We were a team. At least, that's what I told myself. But then, about 6 months ago, something shifted. It's hard to pin down exactly when it started, kind of like when you're driving and realize you missed your exit 10 miles back. I first noticed it with her phone. Mia used to leave that thing lying around like it was part of the furniture, on the coffee table, the kitchen counter, hell, even the bathroom sink once when Buster knocked it into the toilet. I'd pick it up sometimes to mess with her, like changing her lock screen to a pic of me flexing with a dumb grin. She'd groan, "You're such a child," but she'd laugh it off. Lately, though, that phone was glued to her hand. I'd catch her clutching it while she grabbed a soda from the fridge, her thumb swiping at something she tucked away the second I walked in. One night, I couldn't resist. We're sitting there watching TV, some dumb reality show about house flippers, and her phone's buzzing like it's got a life of its own. I leaned over, smirking. "What, you texting the president now?" She didn't even look up, just snapped, "Just work, Nick, chill," and angled the screen away. Her voice had this edge, not the playful jab I was used to, and I sat back, blinking like I'd been slapped. It wasn't just that either. A couple days later, I grabbed her phone off the counter to check the weather. Old habit, no big deal, and it wouldn't unlock. Password protected. Since when? I stared at it, this little black rectangle suddenly feeling like a stranger, and called out, "Hey, what's the code?" She poked her head out from the laundry room, folding one of my faded band tees. "Oh, just added it. Security stuff, you know, hackers." Her tone was casual, but she didn't meet my eyes, just kept folding like it was no biggie. I nodded, set the phone down, and muttered, "Yeah, sure," but something in my gut twisted. Hackers? In our sleepy little town, where the biggest crime was Mrs. Jenkins down the street stealing garden gnomes? It didn't add up. I stood there, watching her shove clothes into the dryer with this weird clipped energy and thought, that's new. I tried brushing it off. I mean, come on. I didn't want to be that guy, you know, the paranoid husband sniffing around her phone like some jealous creep. We were solid. 6 years doesn't just vanish over a locked screen, right? I'd see her curled up with Buster at night, scratching his ears, while she scrolled, whatever she was scrolling, and tell myself it was fine. Work stress, maybe. She'd been pulling late hours at her graphic design gig, coming home with dark circles under her eyes and a sigh that said, "Don't ask." I'd offer to heat up leftovers, and she'd give me this tired half-smile that used to mean thanks, but now felt distant, like she was humoring me. The more I noticed it, the more it nagged at me, this quiet little itch I couldn't scratch. One evening, I'm sprawled on the recliner with Buster snoring on my lap, and she's pacing the kitchen, phone pressed to her ear. She's muttering something I can't catch, then laughs, a sharp, nervous sound that's not her usual giggle. She hangs up quick when she sees me looking, stuffing the phone in her pocket like it's hot evidence. "Who was that?" I asked, keeping it light, scratching Buster's head to play it cool. "Oh, just Sarah from work," she said, grabbing a glass of water she didn't drink. "She's freaking out about deadlines again." I nodded, but my brain's doing cartwheels. "Sarah, sure. Except Sarah's the chill one who once brought us homemade cookies, not the type to call at 8 p.m. sounding like a secret agent." Mia turned away, busying herself with wiping the counter, a counter that was already clean, and I just sat there, petting Buster a little too hard, feeling this weird hum in my chest. Looking back, that's when the first cracks showed up, tiny hairline stuff you'd miss if you weren't paying attention. I wasn't ready to call it trouble, not yet, but it was there, lurking like a storm cloud you pretend isn't coming. I kept telling myself we were fine, that I was overthinking it, because who wants to admit their perfect little life might be bullshit? But every time she clutched that phone like a lifeline, every time her laugh didn't quite reach her eyes, that itch got louder. I didn't know it then, but I was about to learn a hard lesson. Sometimes the good old days are just the calm before you realize you're screwed. Spoiler alert. I should have been that guy, the one who checks the phone. Would have saved me a hell of a lot of guesswork. Ever notice how little things like your wife flipping her phone face down turn into a freaking detective movie in your head? Welcome to my life. Week 2 of What's Mia Hiding. After that whole password fiasco, I couldn't shake this itchy feeling that something was off. It's not like I was ready to hire a PI or start dusting her phone for fingerprints. Let's be real, I'm too cheap for that. But every time she clutched that thing like it held the nuclear codes, I'd catch myself squinting at her like, "Who are you, lady?" Buster didn't help either. He'd just flop on the rug, staring at me with those droopy eyes like he knew something I didn't. Probably did, the little traitor. He's always been Team Mia since she started smuggling him treats behind my back. Things really started ramping up a few days after the kitchen pacing incident. We're sitting at dinner one night, just the two of us, and a sad little spread of takeout Chinese because neither of us felt like cooking. I'm shoveling fried rice into my mouth, trying to tell her about some dumb work thing. My boss Rick botching a Zoom call by forgetting to mute while he yelled at his cat. When her phone buzzes on the table, she snatches it up so fast you'd think it was a live grenade, flips it face down, and flashes me this tight little smile that doesn't reach her eyes. I raised an eyebrow, mid-chew, and went for it. "What? You got a secret TikTok career now?" I said, grinning like an idiot to keep it light. She barely cracked a laugh, just a quick, "Ha, no, it's nothing," before stabbing at her lo mein like it owed her money. I watched her twirl noodles around her fork, her shoulders stiff, and thought, okay, that's not nothing, but I let it slide because pushing her felt like poking a beehive with a stick. It wasn't a one-off either. She started stepping out to take calls, like full-on leaving the room, which she never used to do. I'd be on the couch, half watching some car restoration show, Buster snoring beside me, and her phone would light up. "Oh, it's just Sarah from work," she'd mutter, already halfway to the back porch before I could blink. I'd call after her, "Sarah, okay? She's been blowing you up lately," and she'd toss back a breezy, "Yeah, just work drama," over her shoulder. I'd sit there, scratching Buster's ears a little too hard, muttering to myself, Sarah must be having the worst month ever. I mean, come on, I'm no Sherlock, but I'm pretty sure work calls don't happen at 9 p.m. on a Sunday unless you're saving the world. Mia's a graphic designer, not Captain America. One time, I swear, I heard her laugh out there. A low, secretive chuckle that made my stomach do a weird flip. I almost got up to peek, but Buster whined, pinning me down with his dead weight, and I chickened out anyway. I didn't want to be the guy creeping on his own wife, right? The phone face-down thing turned into a game I didn't sign up for. Every night it'd be the same. We're eating, watching TV, whatever, and her phone's sitting there like a third wheel, screen kissing the table. Once, I reached over to pass her the salt. Total accident, I swear. And my hand brushed close to it. She yanked it away so fast I almost dropped the shaker, her fingers curling around it like I was gonna snatch it and sprint off. "Whoa, easy there," I said, holding up my hands like I'd been caught stealing cookies. She mumbled something about reflexes and shoved it in her pocket, her cheeks flushing just enough to make me wonder. I leaned back, smirking to cover the sting, and thought, well, that's not suspicious at all. It was like living with a spy who sucked at hiding it. 7, she was not. I'd catch myself staring at that damn phone later, sitting on the counter while she showered, tempted to just flip it over and see what the hell was worth all this cloak and dagger crap. But I didn't. Not yet. Then came the Starbucks incident, as I've dubbed it in my head. It's a random Saturday, maybe a week after the dinner dodge, and I'm out running errands. Dog food for Buster, a new HDMI cable because ours crapped out mid-movie night. I'm driving past the strip mall near our house, the one with the good taco place, when I spot her. Mia's pacing outside the Starbucks, phone pressed to her ear, her free hand waving around like she's conducting an invisible orchestra. She's got this intense look, brows furrowed, lips moving fast, and I slow down, pulling into a spot across the lot because my brain's screaming, what the hell? I'm not close enough to hear everything, but snippets float over through my cracked window. It's almost done, just a little longer. My heart starts pounding like I've run a marathon, and I grip the steering wheel so hard my knuckles go white. She doesn't see me, too wrapped up in whatever she's plotting, and I just sit there, frozen, watching her pace like some caged animal about to bolt. She gets home an hour later, breathing in with a paper cup in hand, the Starbucks logo mocking me from the side. "Hey," she says, kicking off her sneakers. "Ran into Jen for coffee." She's a mess over her breakup. I'm leaning against the kitchen counter, arms crossed, and I nod like an idiot. "Yeah, that sucks," I say, my voice flatter than I mean it to be. She doesn't notice, just rattles on about Jen's ex being a jerk. But I'm barely listening. My gut's screaming bullshit, so loud it's drowning her out. Jen? The same Jen who's been happily single since last Christmas? I watch her sip that coffee, her fingers tapping the cup too fast, and think, you're lying to my face, and you're not even good at it. You know that moment when your wife says something so random it's like she's reading from a script titled, How to Screw You Over 101. Yeah, that was Mia dropping the F-bomb finances, right in the middle of taco night like it was no big deal. I'm sitting there halfway through a crunchy shell loaded with extra guac, still riding the high of outsmarting my brain's latest conspiracy spiral from the Starbucks incident. It's been a couple weeks since I caught her pacing outside that coffee shop, muttering cryptic shit into her phone. And I've been playing it cool. Well, as cool as a guy can when he's side-eyeing his wife every time she breathes. We're at the kitchen table, Buster's sprawled under my chair hoping I'll drop something, and Mia's picking at her plate, unusually quiet. Then, out of nowhere, she looks up, taco in hand, and goes, "Hey, we should organize our money. Accounts, passwords, all that jazz, for emergencies." I blink at her, a chunk of beef falling onto my lap, and say, "What emergencies?" She shrugs, wiping salsa off her chin like she's discussing the weather. "Life happens, Nick, you never know." I laugh, because what else do you do when your wife hits you with that kind of curveball? Life happens? What, like alien invasions or Buster staging a coup, I say, tossing him a crumb to keep him quiet. She doesn't laugh back, just gives me this little half smile, the kind you flash at a cashier when you're in a hurry, and says, "No, just smart stuff. We should be prepared." I nod, shoving the rest of my taco in my mouth to buy time, but my brain's already doing that thing where it replays every shady moment lately. The phone flips, the porch calls, that almost done whisper from Starbucks. Prepared for what exactly? I watch her sip her water, her fingers drumming the glass too fast, and think, okay, Mia, you're not slick. But I let it slide because calling her out mid-toco feels like overkill, and I'm still clinging to the hope. I'm just paranoid. Fast forward a few days, and she's at it again. I'm on the couch, feet up, scrolling through some Reddit thread about dumb coworker stories when she plops down next to me, phone in her lap, face down naturally. Buster's wedged between us, grunting like he's mad we're crowding his spot. She's flipping through a magazine she hasn't touched in months, then casually drops, "So, Where's the house deed anyway? I freeze, thumb hovering over my screen, and turn to her, smirking. What, you planning to sell it on eBay? Gotta tell me so I can pack my Star Wars mugs. She rolls her eyes, but there's this twitch in her jaw, like she's annoyed I didn't just hand her a treasure map. No, dummy, she says, flipping a page too hard. Just wondering where we keep stuff like that. You know, for emergencies. There's that word again, emergencies. And I feel this cold little prickle up my spine. I mutter, in the safe, I think? And she nods, but her eyes linger on me a beat too long before she goes back to pretending she cares about Better Homes and Gardens. That night, I can't sleep. Mia's out like a light, snoring softly. But I'm wide awake, staring at the ceiling fan, spinning lazy circles. Buster's at the foot of the bed, farting in his sleep. Thanks, Bunny. And I'm replaying her words over and over. Emergencies. House deed. Organize our money. It's not sitting right, like when you eat gas station sushi and know you're going to regret it later. I slip out of bed, grab my laptop from the living room, and pull up our joint account because screw it, I need answers. It's 2 a.m. The house is dead quiet except for Buster's wheezes, and I'm hunched over the screen, scrolling through transactions. There they are. Small transfers, $200 here, $500 there, totaling about $2,000 over the past month. No labels, no notes, just money slipping out like it's got somewhere better to be. I mutter under my breath, either she's secretly a philanthropist or I'm screwed, and slam the laptop shut, my hands shaking a little. Next morning I called Dave, my old college buddy who's now a lawyer and owes me for all the times I didn't rat him out for sneaking beers into our dorm. He picks up groggy and I skip the pleasantries. Dude, Mia's asking about house deeds and moving money out of our account. What's that smell like to you? There's a pause. Then he deadpans. Sounds like she's prepping for a divorce grab. Lock it down, man. I laugh, but it's the nervous kind that catches in your throat. Divorce? Come on. That's insane, I say, pacing the kitchen while Mia's still at work. Dave's not laughing. Nick, I've seen this playbook. The calls, the cash, now this? She's building an exit ramp. Protect yourself. I hang up, slump into a chair, and stare at Buster, who's chewing an old sock like it's his job. She wouldn't, right? I ask him. He farts in response. Great. It all clicks a few nights later. I'm in the garage, tinkering with that damn leaky faucet I swore I'd fix when I hear her voice through the cracked window. She's on the porch again, phone pressed to her ear, whispering like she's in a spy flick. Once it's settled, we're set, she says, and my wrench slips clanging against the pipe loud enough to make me wince. I freeze, heart slamming against my ribs, and strain to hear more. Yeah, just a little longer, she adds, then laughs. That same low chuckle from before. My stomach drops like I've stepped off a cliff, and I lean against the workbench, the cold metal biting into my palms. I don't catch the rest, she's back inside too quick, but I don't need to. The calls, the lies, the money talk. It's not paranoia anymore. This is my wife turning into a stranger with a plan, and I'm the chump who's been eating burnt pizza while she's plotting. I stumble back into the house, legs shaky, and find myself staring at our wedding photo on the mantel. There we are, grinning like idiots, me in her white dress, me in a rented tux that pinched my shoulders, promising forever. I run a hand through my hair, muttering, how'd we go from I do to I'll take half. Buster pads over, nudging my leg with his wet nose, and I sink onto the couch, burying my face in his fur. It hits me hard, not just the betrayal, but the fact I didn't see it coming. All those nights laughing over the office, all those stupid little moments I thought meant something, were they just noise to her? I sit there, the clock ticking past midnight, and feel this weird mix of rage and clarity settle in. Spoiler, I wasn't about to let her steamroll me. Time to play defense, Nick. Game on. Ever transfer your entire life savings while crying over a beer? No. Just me then, living my best soap opera life. That night in the garage, after hearing Mia whisper, "We're set," like some budget villain, I couldn't unhear it. It's like the words drilled straight into my skull, rattling around with every other clue. The phone games, the Starbucks pacing, that damn organizer money line. I stumble back into the house, legs wobbly like I've just run a 5K, and collapse onto the couch. Buster's there in a flash, shoving his wet nose into my hand, and I start pacing, dragging him along like he's my therapist. "She's gonna leave us, bud," I mutter, ruffling his ears too hard, and take your kibble fun while she's at it. He whines, flopping onto the rug like he gets it, and I'm left circling the living room, the wedding photo on the mantel mocking me with our stupid happy faces. I grab a beer from the fridge, crack it open and take a swig, but it tastes like ash. How do you even process your wife turning into a stranger who's apparently plotting to clean you out? I don't sleep. Not a wink. By 3 a.m., I'm on the phone with my mom, voice cracking like I'm 15 again and just got dumped before prom. Mom, I need you to hold some stuff for me, I say. Staring at the ceiling fan, spinning its endless loop, there's a long pause, then she sighs. You're scaring me, Nikki. What's going on? I can hear the worry in her voice. Picturing her sitting up in her old floral robe, clutching her coffee mug even though it's the middle of the night. Just trust me, okay? Don't ask why, I say, and she hesitates before muttering, All right, sweetheart, whatever you need. I hang up, my throat tight, and slump back onto the couch, Buster's head on my lap. I hate dragging her into this mess, but Dave's words keep echoing, lock it down. And I know I can't just sit here like a deer in headlights waiting for Mia to run me over. The next day, I'm a zombie, chugging coffee, barely functioning. But I've got a mission. Mia's at work, or so she says, and I'm at the kitchen table with my laptop, papers strewn everywhere like I'm prepping for the apocalypse. I pull up our accounts, joint savings, my 401k, the house deed, and start moving it all into a trust under Mom's name. My hands shake as I type, the screen blurring every time I blink, and I mutter to myself, Sorry, Mia, not today. It's not easy. Every click feels like I'm carving up 6 years of my life. But I picture her on that porch, laughing into her phone, and it's enough to keep me going. I call Mom again, double-checking. You got the docs? I ask, voice hoarse. Yeah, Nikki, they're safe, she says. Softer this time, like she knows I'm breaking, but won't push. I leave just enough in our joint account to avoid tipping her off, couple grand, chump change, and by sundown, it's done. I lean back staring at the empty beer cans littering the table and let out a shaky laugh. I guess I'm a mastermind now, huh, Buster? He farts in response. Fair. 2 weeks later, she drops the bomb. It's a Friday night, and I'm sprawled on the couch, half watching some car chase movie, when Mia walks in, sits down, and turns off the TV. Nick, we need to talk, she says, her voice flat, like she's ordering takeout. I sit up, heart thudding, but I already know what's coming. I think we should divorce, she goes on, folding her hands in her lap. I deserve more than this. I blink at her, feigning shock, mouth open, eyes wide, but inside, I'm smirking. Oh, you deserve more. I think, biting my tongue. More like what? I ask, keeping my tone neutral. She shrugs, looking past me. Just more. I've lost myself here. It's rehearsed, like she's reciting lines from a self-help book, and I nod slowly, letting her dig her hole. If that's what you want, I say, leaning back, and she looks surprised, like she expected me to beg or something. I don't. I just watch her, that smug little smirk curling in my chest. After that, I turn into a low-rent detective. She's out more now, at work or with friends, and I'm scrolling her Instagram late at night, Buster snoring beside me. That's when I spot him, Jake, some smarmy coworker with a man bun, liking every damn post she's made for months. I click his profile. Public, because of course it is, and see him tagged at that Starbucks. Same day I caught her pacing. And my stomach twists, but I need more. I call Lisa, our mutual friend from way back, pretending it's a casual catch-up. Hey, you talked to Mia lately? I ask, stirring my coffee like it's no big deal. She hesitates, then spills. Yeah, she's been cozy with this Jake guy from work for months. Nick, I think they're plotting something. I grip the mug so hard it creaks, muttering, Thanks, Lisa, and hang up, my jaw tight. Plotting, of course, I can't let it go. Saturday, I borrow Dave's beat-up Honda, less obvious than my truck, and tail her. She's meeting Jen again, but I follow her to some apartment complex across town. There's Jake leaning against his car, all grins, and she walks up, laughing like she used to with me. They don't kiss or anything, but the way he slings an arm around her shoulders, casual as hell, makes my blood boil. I sit there, engine idling, gripping the wheel, and think, guess I'm not the only one she's been playing. I don't confront them, just drive home, windows down, letting the cold air slap some sense into me. Buster's waiting at the door, tail wagging, and I scoop him up, burying my face in his fur. We're good, bud. I say, voice rough. She's not taking shit. Betrayal's a bitch, sharp and cold, cutting through every memory I thought meant something. But watching her strut around, thinking she'd won while I held the trump card? That's my Oscar moment right there. I'm not the same Nick who burned pizza with her or fought over blankets. I'm the guy who saw the knife coming and ducked. She wanted a fight, figuring I'd roll over like a chump. She's getting one all right, just not the one she expects. I crack another beer, clink it against Buster's water bowl and mutter, "Round one to us, pal, picture this." Your soon-to-be ex-wife glaring at you across the table, while her lawyer realizes she's got nothing. Best Monday ever. Mediation day rolls around a couple weeks after I caught Mia giggling with Jake at her new place, and I'm sitting in this drab little office, sipping stale coffee from a styrofoam cup, feeling like I've already won. Mia's across from me, arms crossed, her jaw tight like she's ready to chew through steel. Her lawyer's this slick guy in a cheap suit, flipping through a stack of papers thicker than a phone book, and he starts laying out her demands like he's reading a grocery list. Half the house, half the savings, the 401k, and spousal support, he says, smirking like he's got me cornered. I lean back in my chair, sipping that awful coffee, and catch Dave's eye. He's my lawyer now, not just my beer buddy, and he's got this little grin that says, "Wait for it." Mia's staring daggers, probably thinking I'm about to crumble, but I'm just sitting there, calm as hell, because I've got an ace up my sleeve she doesn't see coming. Dave slides a folder across the table, slow and deliberate, like he's dealing the winning hand in poker. "Before we go any further," he says, voice steady, "you might want to take a look at these." Mia's lawyer snatches it up, skimming the pages, and you can see the exact moment his confidence takes a nosedive. His eyebrows shoot up, then crash down hard. "What's this?" he mutters, flipping faster. Dave leans forward, all business. "Those are trust documents transferring all major assets, house, savings, retirement, to my client's mother, fully executed and notarized weeks before the divorce filing. It's airtight." The room goes dead quiet, like someone hit mute on the world. Mia's lawyer looks at her, his mouth twitching, and says, "You didn't mention this." She grabs the papers from him, her hands shaking, and starts flipping through them, her face turning redder with every page. "This can't be real," she sputters, jabbing a finger at the dates. Then she whips around to me, eyes blazing. "You set me up, Nick. You planned this." I shrug, taking a slow sip of coffee to drag it out and say, "You started it, Mia." Her jaw drops, literally hangs there like a cartoon, and I swear I hear Dave stifle a laugh. "Checkmate, babe." Her lawyer's scrambling now, muttering about reassessing, but it's over. They've got no play left. Mia slams the papers down, leaning across the table like she's gonna lunge at me. "You're a bastard," she hisses, voice low and venomous. I just look at her, calm as ever, and say, "Takes one to know one, I guess." She sits back, fuming, and I can't help it, a smirk creeps up because, damn, it feels good to watch her squirm after all her sneaky bullshit. Things unravel fast after that. We leave the mediation room, her trailing behind her lawyer like a kicked puppy, and by the next day my phone's blowing up. She's calling non-stop, leaving voicemails that swing wild between sob stories and desperation. First one's all tears. "Nick, please, it was a prank, okay? I didn't mean it. I'm in the kitchen feeding Buster his kibble and I snort so loud he looks up like I've lost it." "A prank? Who files legal papers for a laugh?" The next one's crazier, she's sniffling. "I was testing us, to see how strong we were." I roll my eyes, muttering to Buster, "Yeah, and I aced it by not letting her rob me blind." I don't pick up. Don't text back. Dave told me to keep my distance, and honestly, I'm done with her games. But then the texts leak, thanks to Lisa. She sends me screenshots from a mutual friend. Jake's been texting Mia, all "make him pay, babe, and we'll be golden once you cash out." I'm sitting on the couch, scrolling through them, and laugh out loud, a bitter, jagged sound. Buster tilts his head, and I say, "She thought she'd play me, bud." Joke's on her. A week later, the divorce is finalized. I keep the house, the savings, everything I locked down, and Mia's left with her clothes and whatever dignity she's got left, which ain't much. Mom comes over that weekend, armed with paint cans and a playlist of old rock tunes, and we redo the living room. Bright blue, because why not? She's rolling paint on the walls, humming along to Springsteen, and says, "You're tougher than you look, Nicky." I smirk, brushing paint on Buster's tail by accident. He yelps and bolts, and say, "Had to be, Ma, she almost had me." We laugh, the sound bouncing off the fresh walls, and it feels like reclaiming something, like this house is mine again, not ours. Later, I take Buster for a long walk, the leash loose in my hand, and breathe in the crisp February air. Peace is underrated until you lose it, and man, it's good to have it back. That night, I meet Dave at our usual dive bar, clinking beers over a sticky table. "To not being broke and stupid," he toasts, grinning wide. I laugh, tipping my bottle back. Amen to that. We shoot the shit about nothing, work, his kid's latest tantrum, and it's easy, normal, like the last 6 months of hell are fading into static. Mia's a ghost now, haunting her own bad choices, probably still spinning tales to anyone who'll listen. Me? I'm writing my next chapter, and it's got a better soundtrack. No more burnt pizza nights or fake smiles, just me, Buster, and a life I can call mine. I lean back in the booth, watching the bar TV flicker some dumb infomercial, and think about how close I came to losing it all. Trust your gut, folks. It's cheaper than a divorce lawyer, and it might just save your ass.